Hello students, good morning. Here is Harish Yadav from St. Paul Senior Secondary School, ETA. Today I am here to teach you English literature. Let's begin with chapter 7, Shall We Choose Death? The title itself asks you a question. Shall we choose death? Do we want to die? Yes or no? Obviously, everyone will answer no. But if we don't want to choose death, then what we are doing? Actually, poet, writer, narrator wants to make our attention towards the mad race of making weapons, deadly weapons, which include atom bomb, hydrogen bomb, nuclear bomb, and so many weapons which are very dangerous for not only human beings but for the whole creation of God. They can destroy the whole earth. So he wants to take our attention towards this thing, and he wants to express something which could make us alert or which can inspire us to stop this mad race. Let us see what is there in the chapter. Shall We Choose Death by Bertrand Russell. Actually, this is a speech which was broadcast on BBC Radio, London on 30 December 1954. In March 1954, the United States had tested its second hydrogen bomb, which was 750 times stronger than the bomb which was exploded in Hiroshima in 1945. The scientists said that it was possible to make hydrogen bombs that could explode with any destructive force they wanted. This speech was made by Russell to protest against this mad race for weapons that could totally destroy life on the earth. So let us begin what is written in the chapter. Reading. I am speaking not as a Briton, but as a member of a Western democracy, but as a human being, a member of the species man, whose continued existence is in doubt. The world is full of conflicts, Jews and Arabs, Indians and Pakistanis, white men and Negroes in Africa, and overshadowing all minor conflicts, the titanic struggle between communism and anti-communism. Actually, this narrator, in the beginning, he says that he is not speaking as a Breton. Breton here, any leader, political leader. So he is not speaking like a political leader, but as a member of democracy, as a common human being. He wants to tell all the human beings that there is doubt of existence, human existence. Because the world is full of conflict. Conflict means war. So we are always fighting. Maybe India, Pakistan, maybe Jews and Arabs, maybe Negroes, blacks and whites, blacks, Negroes in Africa and whites, English people. And it may be communism or anti-communism, means there is war, there is fight between the person, between the country, or between the mentality, between the ideology, fight of their thoughts. So people is fighting everywhere. Second paragraph. Almost everybody who is politically conscious has strong feelings about one or more of these issues. But I want you, if you can, to set aside such feelings for the moment and consider yourself only as a member of a biological species. Biological species means human being here. So the narrator wants us to consider ourselves only just a human being, not as a political leader, as a member of certain party, nothing, but we should think only as a human being, which has had a remarkable history and whose disappearance none of us can desire. We should think as a human being because we do not want human beings to disappear from this world. We want existence of humans on the earth. So we should think like a man, like a human being. I shall try to say no single word which should appeal to one group rather than to another. And he don't want to say anything which is applicable for one person and not for other, or which is in the interest of any one group and not in the other group. He wants to tell whatever he is saying commonly to all. All equally are in peril. Peril here means danger. All are equally in danger. It may be American, it may be Indian, it may be Pakistani, may be Hindu, may be Muslim, or may be Jews. It may be anyone. Everyone is in equal danger. And if the peril is understood, there is hope that they may collectively avert it. And if we have understood the danger, the peril, then we should be alert. We have to learn to think in a new way. We have to learn to ask ourselves not what steps can be taken to give military victory to whatever group we prefer, for there no longer are such steps. Now, narrator wants to tell that we should not encourage a particular party, particular army or any particular country that they should win, but we should treat them equally. We should not hope for anybody's win, because the person or the country which will defeat, not actually that country or that person will be defeated, but the whole humanity will be defeated and all of us will have to suffer. Because though any party, any country wins, but that win will not be a win for country, it will be a loss of human being. The question we have to ask ourselves is, what steps can be taken to prevent a military contest, or which the issue must be disastrous to all sides? Now, it is a question that what steps we should take to avoid this war, to avoid this conflict. The general public and even many men in positions of authority. Man in positions of authority means a person who is leader, you can say, or have power, have not realized what would be involved in a war with hydrogen bombs. The general public still thinks in terms of the obliteration of cities. Actually, general people think that certain cities will be destructed, but no. The person in power, he also don't understand now that what will be destructed exactly. The general public, it is understood that the new bombs are more powerful than the old, and that while one atomic bomb could obliterate Hiroshima and hydrogen bomb could obliterate the largest cities such as London, New York and Moscow, no doubt in a hydrogen bomb, war-great cities would be obliterated. Earlier, when atom bombs were put on the cities like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the whole cities were destroyed. But now, far more stronger hydrogen bombs are created, and if those bombs are dropped, not only one city but the whole country will be destroyed. But this is one of the minor disasters that would have to be faced. So the narrator calls destruction of these cities as a minor disaster, because if cities are destructed, they can be reconstructed again. But if whole human being, if this spacey human being is destructed, it will take millions of years to again come them into life, or may it be happen that they may not come to life again. If everybody in London, New York and Moscow were exterminated, the world might in the course of a few centuries recover from the blow. But we know, especially since the Bikini test, that hydrogen bombs can gradually spread destruction over a much wider area than had been supposed. It is stated on very good authority that a bomb can now be manufactured which will be 25,000 times as powerful as that which destroyed Hiroshima. Such a bomb, if exploded near the ground or water, sends radioactive particles into the upper air. They sink gradually and reach the surface of the earth in the form of a deadly dust or rain. It was this dust which infected the Japanese fishermen and their catch of fish, although they were outside what American experts believed to be the danger zone. No one knows how widely such lethal radioactive particles might be diffused, but the best authorities are unanimous in saying that a war with a hydrogen bomb is quite likely to put an end to the human race. It is feared that if many hydrogen bombs are used, there will be universal death, sudden only for a fortunate minority, but for the majority, a slow torture of disease and disintegration. And this is the real cause of worry, that if bombs newly made bombs are used, they are 25,000 times more powerful and dangerous than the bombs dropped in Hiroshima. The whole city was destroyed by that atom bomb, but now if bombs are used, they will destroy the whole universe. They are so much strong, and the human species, the human beings, for millions of years, they will not able to come into existence. Here then it is the problem which I present to you, stark and dreadful and inescapable. Shall we put an end to the human race, or shall mankind renounce war? Now this is the question, that shall we put an end to the war, or we shall put an end to the human race, to the life that is going on this earth. People will not face this alternative because it is so difficult to abolish war. Now the narrator says that people will not able to abolish this destruction because to stop war is a very difficult thing. The abolition of war will demand distasteful limitation of national sovereignty. Actually, if we abolish war, the national freedom will be limited. Then how we will keep our freedom? This is a question. But what perhaps impedes understanding of the situation more than anything else is that the term mankind feels vague and abstract. People scarcely realize in imagination that the danger is to themselves and their children and their grandchildren, and not only to a dimly apprehended humanity. Actually, the danger is not for the country. It is not only the question of freedom of a country or being slaves of other countries, but it is a question of having the future generations. It is a question of children and grandchildren, whether they will come into existence or whether they will remain in existence or not. And so they hope that perhaps war may be allowed to continue provided modern weapons are prohibited. So, war which uses this modern weapons should be prohibited, should be stopped or banned. I am afraid this hope is illusory. But the narrator says that this hope of banning war is illusory, is just a dream. Whatever agreements not to use hydrogen bombs had been reached in time of peace, they would no longer be considered binding in time of war, and both sides would set to work to manufacture hydrogen bombs as soon as war broke out. For if one side manufactured the bombs and the other did not, the side that manufactured them would inevitably be victorious. Now, it is an agreement now that we have not to make hydrogen bombs and not to use them. But think, if war begins between two countries, will they follow this agreement? I don't think. The narrator says, as soon as war begins, the person who has manufactured already hydrogen bombs will surely be victorious. So the other country which do not have, they will also start manufacturing, or they will take help of some other country. They can borrow these hydrogen bombs from other country. In this way, there will be a situation of world war, and this could cause destruction to whole earth or whole universe and the humanity. As geological time is reckoned, man has so far existed only for a very short period, 1 million years at the most. What he has achieved, especially during the last 6,000 years, is something utterly new in the history of the cosmos. So far, at least as we are acquainted with it. For countless ages, the sun rose and set, the moon waxed and waned, the stars shone in the night, but it was only with the coming of man that these things were understood. In the great world of astronomy, or in the little world of the atom, man has unveiled secrets which might have been thought undiscoverable. Actually, the world or this earth came into existence before millions of years. Every day sun rose and sunset, moon came and went away. But only before 6,000 years we could have understood all these things, because man has given us information, or the man has become, we can say, gained knowledge and has written history. From that time we came to know about the earth. So the importance of man is more. Though earth came into existence, but without man there is nothing on the earth. Man, in art and literature and religion, some men have shown a sublimity of feelings which makes the species worth preserving. Now, because of literature and art, man has taught us that this human life is also worth living. On this earth, there are so many lives, but I don't think that trees and other creatures, insects, they might be thinking all these things which we are discussing now. Whether an ant could think that their existence is important and what would happen if atom bomb was dropped? No. But only human being can have this concern, because humans have brain, they can think. And some human beings, because of art and literature, they have created feelings which we are also taught that these feelings could be used for the betterment of the earth. Is all this to be end in trivial horror because so few are able to think of man rather than of this or that group of men? Now, is this all human being will come to an end because only a few men is able to think for this, or only a few group is discussing or is being concerned about this? Is our race so destitute of wisdom? Is our race, is human being so innocent or having no wisdom, so incapable of impartial love, so blind even to the simplest dictates of self-preservation? Now the question from the narrator, that is human being so innocent, you can say stupid, that it could not understand the love and the importance of preservation of this humankind, that the last proof of its silly cleverness is to be the extermination of all life on our planet, and the man is giving proof of its innocence, that it is going to destroy the whole nature, it is going to put an end to all these human beings. For it will be not only man who will perish, but also the animals whom no one can accuse of communism or anti-communism. And not only human beings, but all the creatures, all living beings, maybe trees, maybe animals, maybe insects, they will also have to destroy because of our foolishness of man. Only because of foolishness of man, all these things, all these creatures, these plants, the animals who don't know anything, but they will also have to destroy. I cannot believe that this is to be the end. Narrator says that no, he don't believe this will be the end of a human being or this universe. I would have men forget their quarrels for a moment and reflect that if they will allow themselves to survive. Now he wishes, or he he appeals to the human being, to the man, that they should think that if they stop quarrel, if they forget quarrel, and just think that could they survive themselves, there is every reason to expect the triumph of the future to exceed immeasurably the triumphs of the past. He assures that if a man just think that would he survive, then he will get every reason for the survival of the human beings, or he will get every reason for the triumph of mankind. There lies before us, if we choose continual progress in happiness, knowledge and wisdom, shall we instead choose in death because we can't forget our quarrels? Now, the narrator gives option for us. Both options are in front of us. What we will have to choose. Whether we have to choose continuous progress with happiness, knowledge and wisdom, or we have to choose death and cannot forget quarrel. Now, it is a question for you also, whether you will choose quarrel and death or you will choose wisdom and happiness. I appeal as a human being to human beings. Now, the narrator appeals to all the human beings, being human beings himself. He appeals, remember your humanity and forget the rest. He appeals to remember only humanity. You should remember that you are human being. Only this thing you should remember and forget all other things. If you can do so, the way lies open to a new paradise. And he assures that if you do the same, if you remember only humanity, then in front of you lies a paradise. Paradise here, heaven. If you cannot remember this thing, then nothing lies before you but universal death. Then there is nothing in front of you, only universal death. So, this chapter is completed with this sentence that you will have to choose whether you have to survive or you have to die. And the survival is not for only a person, but it is survival of the whole universe, whole earth, and the death is also of the whole universe, of the whole humankind. So, the title gives you idea, and the chapter also gives you the message that it depends on us whether we have to quarrel or we have to live happily and remain always in this world, or we have to destroy the humankind. So I hope you all understood this chapter. Some difficult words are written here. You can take help of your book and you have to note down all these difficult words. If you have any query, you can call me. So we will meet again with next chapter in another video. That's all. Thank you.